experience with hard to master. And in this video, I'm going to take a look at a game that is hard to master for one player, and that is Halls of Hegra from Tompet Games. As I mentioned, Halls of Hegra is a solo-only board game, and so that's the reason for this solo hard-to-master video. Now in this video, I'm going to show you a little bit about how Halls of Hegra works, go down to the table, show you how a turn overview works, and then I'll come back and share my thoughts on this World War II themed board game. Alright, I've got Halls of Hegra on the table. Let me show you how this solo World War II game is going to work. Now with this game, you do have lots of components. You've got a main board that you will be doing most of the gameplay on. You do have this sideboard, which kind of blends in here with the main board. And this side is going to be used in the first phase of the game, and then you'll flip this over to use this side of the board when you get into the first attack phase, and then you'll remove it entirely to use what's underneath this in the siege portion of the game in the last stand, which is kind of the second, third, fourth, and fifth phase of the game. We're going to put that back there for now. You do have lots of cubes. You have lots of different wooden components that are going to be your different workers that you're using throughout the course of the game. You do have some components that are over here on this side of the board. You've got some Nazi meeples here, some dice, some cardboard bits, and you do have some cloth bags that you will be pulling things out of as the game progresses. Now, with this game, I'm not going to be able to do a full rules teach on this, so this is just way too intensive. This is going to be a turn overview to help you understand how this game is going to work. Now, I am going to bring out the back of the rule book here that has this player aid, as it is a very handy tool to help you to understand what you are doing through mobilization, first attack, and sieges 1 and 2. And it'll show you the different things that you're supposed to be doing during those different phases of the game. And as you can see, it's going to change depending on what phase you're in. And that makes sense given what is happening here. Now, this isn't a historical event that actually did happen. You are some soldiers that are going up against the Nazis. You're trying to hold them off and keep them from invading the town, and you're needing the people in the town, the villagers, the ranch hands, just the normal everyday people to help you out, as well as the soldiers and the medics and just the people in the town to help you out to defend this town from the Nazis. And one of the most important things with this game is going to be trying to keep up everyone's morale and make sure that people don't quit on you and abandon and run away and leave you high and dry. So you really need to kind of keep the spirits high and do everything you can to defend the walls. Now, what is going to happen at the beginning of every turn? You're going to draw one of these event cards that are up here at the top of the board, and there are 5 different piles, and those are the 5 different phases in the game. And so the first one would be mobilization. And so we'll flip over one of these mobilization cards, and it's going to have a weather indicator, and snow is bad. You do not want snow. There is snow, cloudy, and sunny weather. Now the game starts on cloudy weather. We're going to have to bump this up to snow, and it tells us that we are going to have to when we move out here on this board, we're only going to be able to move 1 to 4 spaces. Every time it snows, we move this snow marker over to the right. Now, what this represents is the snow piling up, and that's bad because we want to shovel out the snow, because underneath the snow are going to be lots of tools that we could uncover that are going to help us to be able to defend the city. Then there's going to be some sort of event here on the card, and it's going to have us add doubt to the recruitment bag. Now, in the beginning of the game during mobilization, it's all about recruiting. You're trying to get more people to help you out and complete tasks to get you ready for when the Nazis are going to show up. And so there's lots of discs that are in this bag. These events are going to have you add doubt to the bad. These are bad discs. You do not want to pull these. And I'll show you what's in here. You're going to have lots of other workers. You do start the game with some workers here, but you're going to have the opportunity to gain several more throughout the course of the game. Now, not all these tokens are going to be in the bag. You're going to be tasked with trying to add more of these tokens into the bag. But that's going to be the first thing that happens, is some sort of event that will have good things things or bad things happen, and then adding and subtracting what you put into the bag. But generally, you're always going to be adding some doubt to this bag, and that is a bad thing. You want to try to mitigate that as best you can. Now, after you resolve these event cards, and again, that's going to happen no matter what phase in the game you're in, then if you're at the mobilization phase, you are going to draw recruits from this bag. And so these are going to be your workers that you're going to be using to complete tasks. Now, when you use these workers, they're going to either be in a tired, restful, or ready state. And you want them to be in a ready state, but oftentimes they're going to be tired because they're working hard. And in order to get them from tired to ready, you're going to have to spend supplies. Now, think of this as your rations, your water, just everything that you need in order to survive. You do start the game with quite a few supplies. This little red cube here tells you the multiplier that each of these cubes have, and at the beginning of the game it's going to be 4. So each one of these is 4, and you can keep track with these cubes of how many supplies that you have, but you'll be spending these supplies to move these workers over here to the ready side, and you want to manage this out. You don't want to spend too many supplies on getting all of your guys over there, because you do want to spend these wisely, because in the latter parts of the game, if you don't have supplies, you don't have workers, and that is bad. Now, these workers you're going to be using to put out here on these different circle spots, as you can see, to do different tasks in the game to help you to accomplish the things that you're needing to do. So let me go over some of the different worker spots that you can place, because that is the next part of the game, the morning phase, where you put all of your workers out here on the board. Now, in the beginning of the game, you're going to want to open up these routes over here on this board to give you new supplies that you could go for. Now, how this is going to work, you're going to put them in these outer circles. Your base is down here at the bottom, and you'll want to use this open new supply route to put these guys out here so that you could send workers to go run out here to try and gather these supplies. And again, you only get to move a certain number of spaces depending on what the weather's like for you at that route. And so if I want to move people out there, I might put them right here, send out a new supply run. That is another action that you can do. This guy right here, the strong arm, he's going to be able to run faster because he knows the lay of the land and he's pretty strong. Whereas these volunteers, you know, they're just farmers. They're just normal people here. They do want to help out, but they're not going to be as strong as the strong guy. Your soldiers here are going to be better served doing the actions that are inside the camp here, such as firing the gun. You do have a gun in this game. You are going to be able to shoot back at the Nazis, but that's also going to get damaged throughout the course of the game, and you're going to have to be putting on these damage tokens right here that are going to indicate that your gun is damaged and it's not going to be as effective for you. So you do have to keep up with that. Some of the other actions that you can do in the game, you can negotiate, and that's going to help you to manage how much fear and doubt that you are adding into this bag here. Remember, you do not want doubt in this bag. You want to try to bring these down here, and that's something that's very important at the beginning of the game. And if you manage this well, it will set you up for success later on down the road. If you don't do this well, then you're in for a long game if you don't do that good. Now, some other things about what you're going to be doing out here. You're going to be repairing the things that are going to break down as the Nazis fire back at you. You're going to want to be shoveling snow right here, and so you want to move this marker back down here to the bottom, and whenever you do, you get to flip over one of these tiles, and a lot of times it's going to be some sort of supplies, such as supplies here, and your morale that you've got to try to keep up. So that's a good thing. But then other times they're going to give you new things to use, such as a second gun, which would go right here, or new places to take action. So here's the radio. And whenever you take the radio, whenever you uncover this, it's always going to come with a damage to it because it's been covered up in snow for the entire who knows how long. But you can repair that, taking the repair action right here, and remove that off the board to be able to use these two actions here, which are going to let you to do extra things throughout the course of the game, and you are going to want to try to uncover these to give yourself the best opportunity to defend against the Nazis. So this is a lot of what you're going to be doing in the first parts of the game. There are going to be patrol units that are going to be drawn out of the bag at certain rounds, and these are bad guys that are going to fill up these spots out here, randomly determined on the back side of the tokens. It'll tell you which numbered spot they go into, and that's going to cause you to have to slow down your routes trying to get these supplies out here, and you could fight back against them, you know, using your soldiers probably, because they're strong and they can defeat Nazis, but you were going to determine the outcome of that by a die roll. And, you know, you want to use the right people to do that. Other people are going to be better at sneaking beyond those Nazis. And again, that's determined by a die roll. And if you get caught, then you're going to get injured. And anytime one of your workers gets injured, say your officer here, you definitely don't want to get him injured. But they're going to go into the infirmary right here. And that's when you're going to have to use medics to try to help heal them back up to full health. If you fill up all your beds and you got people in the waiting area, their health is going to decline. And if they die, you're going to lose morale in addition to losing that worker. So those are a lot of the things you're doing in the beginning. In the later portions of the game, you're going to flip over this board here, and that is when you're going to have to defend yourself against the Nazis attacking back. You're going to bring in some of these meeples here, and the event cards are going to tell you where to put these guys in at. And they're going to, you know, you're going to roll dice to determine whether or not they're shooting at you or they're trying to move forward and get even closer to your base. And if they get too close, they're going to be able to infiltrate and take out some of the people that are trying to defend your walls. That's bad. You really don't want that to happen. You do want to try to take these out with your gun, with the people that are defending the walls. Later on, you'll get a machine gun, and so that's really nice. You'll want to try to keep all of those things in top-notch shape, because if they fall apart, then that's going to be things that you can't use to defend yourself against with. So that's really the idea of what's happening here. You are going to have to survive a number of rounds. I don't think you can see that. It's way down here at the bottom here. The game does last 11 rounds. If you're able to survive that long, there will be one final last stand card with one final event that you have to work yourself through. And if you're still standing even after all of that, then you win the game. But at any time, if you don't have what you need to fulfill these duties down here in the bottom, then you are going to have to surrender. And depending on how badly you had to surrender determines just how bad you lost the game. So there's either a win condition or there's multiple levels of failure with this game. So obviously you want to try to win, but if you can't win, then you don't want to lose so badly that it is an epic fail. And you just barely lost, let's put it that way. But that's what you have here with the idea of what you're trying to do. There are also going to be some artillery that's involved in the game. These artillery guns are going to move out here and make life even more miserable. They're going to fire back at you, blow things up, hurt your guys, damage your equipment. You get the idea. It's all about managing those different doom scenarios and trying to defend yourself against the impending army or the invading armies that are coming at you. Hopefully that gives you an idea of how Halls of Hegra work. Now let's go back up top and share my thoughts on this one. All right, so there you have it. That's how Halls of Hegra works. Now I'm going to share with you my thoughts, pros and cons on this particular game, and then I'll share my score towards the end of this segment. Halls of Hegra is a really outstanding board game. I'm just going to cut straight to the chase on this one. Super thematic. I love how everything about this game oozes with theme, and it's very historical, and I am a history buff when it comes to World War II. Very interested in this game when I heard about the concept of it, so I was very pleased to receive a review copy. This is a review copy from Tompet Games, so I do want to make that clear up front. But that being said, my opinion on this one is not biased in any kind of way. This is my honest opinion on this game, and it is a very, very good game. In fact, you will be seeing this game in my top 10 of 2023 video that I'll be doing with Jeremy, my co-host here on Hard to Master. That's how much I really like this game. Now let me tell you why I like it. It does have some luck factor involved with it, but the luck in this game is not something that makes or breaks how well you do. And what I mean by that is there's several opportunities for you to mitigate that luck. There's several opportunities for you to make the luck be such a minuscule thing that it's not even a thing that you super have to worry about. I mean, you always have to worry about it, I suppose. But if you don't play into making sure that you're giving yourself the best odds, then you're taking fate into your own hands with this game. What I mean is the bag building development that takes place in this, as you are working towards trying to decrease the amount of negativity that goes into that bag, then you're taking fate into your own hands, and whatever outcome comes of that, you built yourself into that. And so if you're somebody who's like, this game has too much luck, it's because you're not playing into the way the game needs you to play in, and you need to really kind of lean into that. And so I don't think that this game has a super luck factor with it, even with the bag building into the game. You know, some people will just go ahead and cross this game off because it has that bag building factor in it because of, well, you know, luck. I think that's rubbish, because you determine what you end up putting into that bag, determining, you know, depending on what you do with your turns. And if you are making wise choices, then you will set yourself up for success in this game. So that being aside to it, you know, talking about the luck factor, everything else about this game is 100% strategy. You do have to really plan ahead with this game, and not just 1 or 2 turns ahead. You really need to be thinking about what the last 2 or 3 turns of the entire game are going to be like for you, and you need to start thinking about that way early on in this game, and I really, really like that. This is a game that sort of feels like, to me, that the first time you play it, you might do well. You might even win. Now I'm gonna go back to using the luck factor here. I do think that's luck if you do really super well the first time through it, and if you play this, you know, 3, 4, 5 times, I think you'll discover that this game is challenging, and the odds of you just skating on by pure luck are not high. And the more times you play this, it is going to rely upon super good strategy for you to do well consistently with this game. I think that's how well designed this game is that it requires you to have a solid strategy and be able to deal with roadblocks that come your way, because you are going to have bad card pulls. You are going to have bad dice rolls. You are going to have bad pulls from the bag. You know, there are going to be times when bad things happen, as is the case with war. Bad things happen. And, you know, if you are going to be able to do well in this game, it's going to require you to be able to come up with a new plan on the fly, in addition to the plan that you've been going with the entirety of the game. You kind of have to have a long-term plan, and then well, what do I do right in this moment if this thing happens? Because that thing can very well happen. You know, the patrol troop could show up at the exact inopportune time, or the bad bag pull can show up, or I just didn't get the right set of workers that I need to be able to do the very thing that I needed to do. So what can I do instead? It's things like that you have to figure out with this game that, to me, makes it a really great game. If you've watched any of our previous videos, you'll know that Orleans is my favorite board game of all time. And that even remains still true today, even after having done this channel for almost 4 years now. And Halls of Hegra gives me that feeling a little bit, because it is, you know, pulling things out of a bag and then having to determine, what do I do with what I've drawn? Placing workers out on the board for different spots. You know, the different type of workers are only allowed to do different things. This has a lot of that similarity that you have with Orleans. It is a solo-only experience, so it's really only you fighting against the game. You're not having to worry about other people taking those other spots on the board or getting to certain spaces before you do, as you have with Orleans. But what you do have with this game is that you have diminishing resources, and that is huge in this game. The resources continually dwindle round by round, and you really start to get that feeling of hopelessness and despair that likely the people that really lived out the events of this game probably felt in that situation. And so it's super thematic, immersive experience with that, because you're really, you know, holding onto the edge of the table, figuring out, how am I going to make this work? How am I going to make it to the next round? So there's that survivalist kind of experience with this game, and it's very enjoyable trying to work through the mental hoops that it takes to do well with that. So those are the things that I really enjoy about this game. As far as cons go, I would say the rule book is maybe the biggest con with this one. It is a constant flipping back and forth from different sections of the rule book to really kind of piece together how this game is supposed to work. My first playthrough, I made several mistakes. You know, so and I do attribute that to having to go back and forth through the rule book. I feel like if the rule book was streamlined a little bit better, that would have cut down a lot of the mistakes on the initial playthrough of this game. I will say, and I mentioned this in the rules overview, that outline on the back of the rule book is super important and is very useful, and I would recommend you to check that out as you are trying to learn about how this game works. That being said, to me, the only other cons that are involved with the gameplay experience with this one is there are a lot of, and maybe this kind of goes along with the rulebook, there are a lot of steps that you have to go through as the turn progresses. And this is a little bit of a pro and con here, that outline of things that you do changes depending on what stage of the game you're in. And so there is a little bit to have to keep track of up here. I wouldn't say it's bookkeeping necessarily, because you're not like keeping track of stats or anything like that, but it is just a knowledge of knowing I'm in round 2 of the game, or I'm in round 4 of the game, and when that means that I'm in stage whatever with the event cards, and because I'm in that stage, I now do this set of events versus what I did in the first round, or something like that. So that's a little bit of a con, having to constantly keep that track in my head. Obviously, as you play the game more, you'll be able to gain the knowledge of knowing how to do that without having to constantly reference the rule book. But also the pro with that is that the game does feel like it unfolds, and I'm not gonna just be able to do what I was doing in the first 2 rounds of the game. I'm gonna have to change my strategy and develop a new idea of what I'm doing as I go through the different phases of the game, and they do feel different. It doesn't feel like it's the same thing round after round after round after round. So the fact that it does unfold like that and it does evolve makes me want to play it all the more. So that is a little bit of a pro, a little bit of a con, I suppose. But all in all, this game is extremely great. And if you are somebody who solos a lot of games, you definitely have to check this out. If you're somebody who is a World War II fanatic like myself, you like World War II board games, you're definitely going to want to check this out. And it's also a World War II side of things that's not commonly known, or at least not here in the States where I'm from. It's a little known side of it, coming from a different angle, fighting against the Nazis, the German forces. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it too. So this is a game that I highly, highly, highly recommend. My score for this one is going to be very, very high. I'm going to give this one an 8.5. And where I'm coming out on that is that I do solo board games. I wouldn't say I'm a solo board game fanatic. I'm definitely not somebody who only solo board games. I definitely do board game more at 2, 3, 4 player counts. I probably even do party games more than I do solo games. But as somebody who does do solo gaming every now and then, Halls of Hegra to me is a very, very, very good solo game. Little bit of a spoiler alert for that top 10 video that I am going to be doing with Jeremy here in a few days, weeks, depending on when we can get it out there. There were 2 solo games for 2023 that are very high on my list. I'm not going to tell you what that other one is. You're going to have to watch that video to see what that video is. But I do like this one better than that one. If you're somebody who's been keeping track of what some of the big solo-only board games of 2023 is, you're probably going to know which one I'm talking about. But I do really like that one. I just like this one more. And so for me, this is the best solo-only board game that I've gotten to play in 2023. I don't know that I've played all of them out there. I know there is a handful out there that are very big. But for me, this one is the best bang for my buck. It's reasonably priced, and it's one that is, gives me a lot of mental thinking that I have to do in order to do well, and it has a lot of mechanics that I really enjoy. So 8.5 on Halls of Hegra. It is from Tompet Games. Go ahead and check it out. Leave me some comments down below. Let me know what you think about this game. And if you like this video, please, please, please hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon to be notified of all of our great new content. I'm Lance, and this is Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are hard to master. We'll catch you next time.